Welcome back to another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios. Bryan, unfortunately football season is in the books. We're 1 week removed from that last week of the playoffs for us. And, what a year for this area, man. I mean, just interesting way to end the season and just thoughts, man, on how everything played out.
Yeah, we're glad to be here with you guys a week after Thanksgiving to recap everything that was Rio Grande Valley High School football here in the Texas High School Football Playoffs, Ivan. But as you said, man, short postseason run for our RGV football teams. We had 13 teams competing in that area round of the playoffs, and unfortunately, none could come out with a win. But there were a few teams that were very competitive, had chances to win late, just had some wins slip through their hands, slip through their fingers, man. So it was a competitive second round for some teams here in the Rio Grande Valley, while other teams were on the wrong end of some big blowouts. But hey, man, I mean, Texas High School Football Playoffs, man, I mean, there's no bad football team still around. So exactly. Every team was, playing at a high level, entering that area round. And unfortunately, that's football, man. That's the way the ball bounces sometimes. So we're going to recap everything that was that area round of the Texas High School Football Playoffs here in the 2024 season. And we'll also reveal our final top 10 sub 5A. Our top 4 sub 5A rankings, our top 4 Coastal Bend rankings, and our top 10 5A, 6A rankings here in the Rio Grande Valley, Ivan. So let's kick off that area round recap, Ivan. Let's start at the 6A level. We had a few teams nearly pull out some wins with some impressive performances there in the area round.
Yeah, man, so let's start off with Brownsville Vets. They traveled up to Hero Stadium in San Antonio to take on New Braunfels Cannon. Shout out Coach Bush, his former team there, UTRGV head coach. And it was a tight one, man. At the half, Cannon led 17-14, and Brownsville Vets comes out of the gate, rolling in that third quarter. 21 unanswered points. They take a huge 35-17 lead, and
wow.
They looked in control. They headed into that. Cannon got a touchdown there late in the third, but they were still up 2 scores heading into that final period, and they just could not hold on. Cannon scores 15 points in the fourth quarter, including a game-winning touchdown with 3 minutes remaining to take a 38-35 lead and hold on to that win. Brownsville Vets had a chance there at the end. Unfortunately, Storm Montoya's pass is tipped by a lineman and brought down by a lineman to secure the win for Cannon, and it ends the Chargers season there in the area around 6A D2. Impressive run by Brownsville Vets. First year in 6A in quite some time. They had spent 2 years in 6A a couple years back, and they finished as the District 32 6A runner-up. They make it to the area round, come close to punching their ticket to the third round for a third straight year, and just a heartbreaking loss there. They kind of just slipped away there at the end, and but you can't discredit what these kids did. I mean, they had a target on their back all year after last season, obviously, and then moving up to the 6A. A lot of people were gonna be like, let's welcome them to 6A. I think if anything, they did the hitting, and they did reminded teams that don't matter where we're playing, 6A, 5A, we're gonna play and we're gonna give you our best shot. So shout out to Chargers on a big season. Unfortunately, the season does end in the area round, but a good overall year for Brownsville veterans coming to an end there in the 6A D2 area round. And just to run through another game real quick, keeping it in that 6A D2 or 6A D2 round, you got San Antonio East Central and Westlake High. Another tight contest. I don't think many people expected much out of Westlake going in this. This one was on Friday at Shirley Field in Laredo, and East Central takes it to them. I mean, they take a 35-21 lead at the half, and Wesco comes back in that second half. They pitch a third quarter shutout, and they bring it within 1 touchdown late against East Central, trailing 28-35. But it's just too little, too late. The season comes to an end there as well. They fall 35-28 to the East Central Hornets. And just let's talk about Frankie Trevino, man. The kid stepped into that quarterback role this season. He was playing receiver last year. This year they needed a quarterback. Steps in. This last game, 333 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He also has 110 rushing yards and a touchdown. That kid found his footing. He really stepped into that role. It's not easy, man. Only playing quarterback for 1 year, and he's an athlete. He got it done, and he leads them to that second round for a second straight year for Wesleyan. They go to that second round, and it's the same thing with Vets. A lot of people expected a fall off. Last year they go undefeated, win the district title, and they come up just short again in the area round. But what a year for Wesleyan. Coach Stroman's doing an amazing job there, and they get a lot of these guys back next year, especially, the biggest name, Chris Luna, man. Kid's an athlete, plays receiver, plays defense, play wherever they need him to. So shout out the Panthers for a phenomenal year. And And before I continue with the 6A roundup, you had a pretty good game yourself, Bryan, down in Corpus. Just tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, to jump down to Class 5A D1, man, the PSG North Raiders hit the road for a neutral site matchup against the New Braunfels Unicorns. This was at Phil Danaher Stadium, at the home of the Cal Allen Wildcats, a couple weeks ago there in the area round. And man, it was a battle, man. I mean, both teams played even. PSG North, of course, came into this one with just one loss on the year, finished as tri-district champs there in 15-5A D1, and New Braunfels, they finished as the number 3 team there in their district in 13-5A D1. And this matchup, man, it was back and forth. It was tied 14-14 at the half, and it just felt like a kind of a seesaw battle. One team would swing things their way, and then PSG North would make something happen, and then New Braunfels would answer right back. But ultimately, coming down into the fourth quarter, PSG North pulled ahead 32-27 late off a 1-yard rushing touchdown by Darren Garcia to go up 32-27 with more than half of the fourth quarter remaining. That was with 7:29 left in the fourth quarter. And New Braunfels, man, they're down 5. They need to answer. They need to score. And PSG North defensive back Bryan comes up with an interception at the 5-yard line to give PSG North the ball back with just a few minutes remaining. It looks like PSG North is in control. If they could pick up a first down or two, they can run out the clock. But PSG North gets up to a 4th and 1 at their own 14-yard line. They said Coach Kaufman calls a timeout before the snap, chooses to leave the offense out there to go for that 4th and 1 to potentially convert it and milk a few more minutes off the clock. But on that 4th and 1, a false start penalty sets them back another 5 yards. 4th and 6, that takes the offense off the field, puts the punt team back on, and New Braunfels got the ball back around midfield, and they didn't fail to convert there. Man, you give a good offense like New Braunfels a couple chances to score, and they're going to take advantage, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't come through the first time, but that second time they delivered, man. They got into a goal-to-go situation. They're at a 4th and goal at the PSG North 2-yard line. PSG North on those first 3 downs, man, New Braunfels ran the ball twice, and PSG North was there to stop them twice. The third down play was a play-action pass to the running back in the right flat. It was batted down by the PSG North defender, so that sets up the 4th and goal at the 2. And New Braunfels, man, when they had got close to 2 of their touchdowns on the night came from short runs from the Wildcat formation. They put a receiver, Cole Redding, back there at Wildcat quarterback, and he was able to convert 2 rushing touchdowns short. Then in the fourth quarter, with just over a minute left, that 4th and goal at the 2-yard line, they put Cole Redding back there in Wildcat formation. So everybody in the world thinks, oh, here it comes again. And what does New Braunfels do? They go right over the top with it's kind of we used to call it basketball, but the quarterback kind of fakes a run and then hits the tight end, kind of just throws a jump shot over the offensive defensive line, and wide open was tight end Lyric Lally for a touchdown reception that put New Braunfels up 33-32. Then they convert the 2-point conversion to go up 35-32 with 55 seconds remaining. PSG North gets to midfield, needing the field goal to tie, touchdown to win, but midfield is as far as they'd get. They turn the ball over on downs, and as time expires, and New Braunfels escapes with a 35-32 win over PSG North. But in this game, man, I mean, PSG North played well enough to win. They had in the playoffs, that's all you want to do. You have a chance to win late. As you said, Ivan, Westaco had a chance to do it. Brownsville Veterans had a chance to do it, and PSG North had a chance to do it. They come up just short, and man, it's they lose by 3 points. And I think special teams came in to hurt them in the end. They missed 2 extra points, the Raiders did, and then after they had missed 1 extra point, they're playing from behind. They go for a 2-point conversion to try to make up that ground. They missed the 2-point conversion, so they miss 2 points on extra points, 2 points out of 2-point conversion, and they lose by 3 points. So that's the difference, man.
Tough.
Yeah, those special teams, man, it really counts. You know what I mean? Once it comes to the postseason, and PSG North, man, they come up on the wrong side. But Ethan Guerra, 24 carries, 183 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Andrew Alvarado, 11 carries, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. quarterback Darren Garcia, two rushing touchdowns, and Nick Torres also with 1 rushing touchdown for the PSG North Raiders. And hey, all 4 of those guys are back for the Raiders next year. So I know they're coming off a loss, and people have been wondering, oh, when is PSG North going to fall off? And they've been good these last few years, but it's coming. Well, hey, man, PSG North still has some ballers coming back next year. They lose some studs in Steven Garza and Jesse Montes, 2 of the best linebackers here in all of South Texas on the defensive side, so they'll have to replace some players there. But man, this PSG North team, we know how good they've been over these last 4 to 5 years, Ivan, and unfortunately, their 2024 season ends in the area round in a loss against New Braunfels. So, man, I mean, it was a tough loss. They come up just short, nothing to hang their head at, man. They fight every time they take the field, and this was nothing different. So they come up on the wrong end of this game against New Braunfels, who is moving on, who moves on and takes on Smithson Valley there in that 3rd round. But man, just a good season for PSG North, man. They win their 3rd district title in a row. They had to share it, but their seniors leave with 8 playoff wins in their 4 years. So some football players, man, they don't even get to experience the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. And PSG North seniors won 8 in their 4 years. So congratulations to the Raiders on another great season, and looking forward to seeing how they bounce back coming into that 2025 season and hit this off season. So looking forward to that. And Ivan, we had another good game there. Another Valley team with a chance to sent the game into the locker room in good shape, but unfortunately can't come out on the wrong side. On the right side, excuse me. And that takes us to the TAPS level for a big game with Brownsville St. Joseph.
Yeah, man. So the Bloodhounds, had a phenomenal year. They were 10-1 heading into this one, but they ran into a huge Houston Second Baptist team. I was able to talk to Coach Monty Stumbaugh after the game, and you see Diego de la Cruz on one side. This team had like 5 of them on their side, so just a tough outing for them. They kept it close. They were up 10-6 at the break, and next thing you know, here comes Houston Second Baptist in the second half to take down Brownsville St. Joseph. 29-10 is the final score there. They move on to the states. I believe they're playing the state championship game this weekend now, so I mean, they can say they lost to the state, possibly runner-up, possibly champion, depending on how it goes. But huge outing by Coach Tino Villarreal in that squad. Claudio Torres scores a touchdown in that game. He was the bright spot of that team, or one of the many bright spots, but definitely the MVP of that team, in my opinion. So huge year for St. Joseph comes to an end there in the it was a regional round of the TAPS playoffs. They only have 4 rounds there, so they would have gone to the state semis with the win. But they were on top early. They just couldn't hang on at the end. But phenomenal year by the Bloodhounds there at the TAPS level. And just to kind of wrap up our breakdowns here, another 6A game that went down to the wire. It was the last hope for the Valley Saturday. Los Fresnos taking on Buda Johnson in the Alamo Dome. Everyone else was out at this point. They had the Valley on their side. They had the Valley's, playoff hopes on their backs. And man, they took it to Buda Johnson. Early on it was a defensive battle. It was 6-6 at the half. Both teams missed an extra point in that first half, and then boom, offenses explode in the second half. These 2 teams traded blows. They combined for 28 points in the 3rd quarter. And first there was Robert Pineda. He hits Ricardo Salazar for a 3-yard touchdown pass. The second time they hook up, similar play, 100-yard kickoff return on the next play by Buda Johnson. So here comes Los Fresnos again, 71-yard touchdown pass from Pineda to running back Diego Torres. They take a 13-20 lead, but here comes Buda Johnson again. Kyle Hatnot, 6-yard rushing touchdowns to make it 20-20 at the break. These 2 teams just went off in that 3rd quarter, and in the 4th quarter, it was anyone's game. And I was talking to hearing some of the sideline chatter, and everyone was saying it's going to come down to a field goal. It was going to come down to a field goal. Sure enough, it did. Buda Johnson marches down the field to set up a 32-yard field goal with 2 minutes remaining. Joe Margiota converts that to give Buda Johnson a 23-20 lead late. Los Fresnos has one last shot. They're moving the ball. Robert Pineda's doing some stuff with his legs, with his arms. Get a little bit past midfield, and unfortunately, turnover on downs. Buda Johnson lines up in victory formation to hold on for that win. Just a tough outing by Los Fresnos. And I think it just shows, though, these teams are right there competing with these teams. This is a team from Buda Johnson that's loaded. I mean, they play in a tough district, and Los Fresnos went toe-to-toe with them, almost coming out on top. Unfortunately, they fall just short, but I think it's like you mentioned with PSG North, these guys have a lot of these guys coming back. You got Robert Pineda, 3-year starter, 4th year under the center next year for Los Fresnos, which huge piece when you can bring back a quarterback 4 years. Diego Torres, he had over 100 total yards and that long receiving touchdown. Only a sophomore. You got Ricardo Salazar. He had 2 of those receiving touchdowns, only a junior. So they got the weapons to make a run next year. Unfortunately, this year didn't go how they wanted it to. But, they went toe-to-toe with this team. They took them down to the wire, and they were just a couple plays away from, making it to that 3rd round. But what a season for the Falcons. First district title since 2017, first outright title since 2008. Just a phenomenal year by Coach Cantu and his staff there. And what's even more exciting is they're running it back next year. So shout out the Falcons, and just, for another phenomenal season there in Los Fresnos.
Yeah, so some good and strong performances from Valley teams, although in defeat there in the area round. Then we had some other teams go up just against some really stacked second round opponents there in that area round. We're just going to quickly run through some of those other area round playoff scores. And we had Cibolo Steel take care of business 63-12 over the PSJ High Bears. PSJ High won that district, so they fall up against a power in Cibolo Steel, and that was on Thursday. To keep things going there Thursday, Bernie took down Ed Calchelsa 38-3 in Laredo, and Alamo Heights picked up a 75-14 win over the Mercedes Tigers there in Corpus Christi. And to jump to Friday's games, Smithson Valley came down to the Valley for a second round matchup against Annenberg Vela. They're in control with a 55-13 win over the Sabercats. Sabercats scored early to make things interesting there in that first quarter, but man, Smithson Valley, man, they're just a machine, man. So they pick up a 55-13 win over the Sabercats. Sharyland Pioneer falls against Corpus Christi Miller 59-6 on the road there in Corpus Christi at Buck Stadium. And then Port Isabel shut out against Lago Vista 31-0 in Class 4A D2 in that area round. And to keep things moving there in the sub 5A playoff qualifiers, we had Rio Hondo advance to that second round. They go up against Universal City Randolph, fall 46-31. And then to wrap things up here, we had La Villa, the district champion there in 16-2A D1. They fall 51-21 against Granger. And that concludes the high school football season here in the Rio Grande Valley. We had 13 teams make it, Ivan, to this area round. Fortunately, all of them come up with losses and see their season ends there in the area round. Now, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors here at rgvsports.com for helping us promote high school athletics here in the Rio Grande Valley and shining a light on the special athletes that we have here in the RGV.
This is Reynaldo Morales, and I'm one of the general surgeons here at Mid-Valley Surgeons. We have a variety of techniques to take care of whatever issue is bothering you, and our goal is to get you back on your feet in the shortest amount of time possible. So if you're having a problem and need a surgical intervention, feel free to come see us. We're here and waiting for your call. Thank you.
You want economical? Need more space? Need reliable safety features? Clark Knapp Honda's got you covered.
Summer might be ending, but Clark Knapp Honda is still heating up with incredible deals like 2.9% APR for 36 months on a 2025 CRV for well-qualified buyers.
Honda for all.
Once again, thank you to our sponsors for helping us promote high school athletics here in the Rio Grande Valley and shine a light on them. And here, Ivan, kind of one of our last things to do here as we wrap up football season, put a bow on it. We will dive right into the RGV Sports football rankings, and of course that includes the 5A, 6A top 10, the sub 5A top 4, and Coastal Bend top 4. And Ivan, PSJ North started the season number 1 in our rankings, in their 5A, 6A rankings, and they finished at number 1. They at the end of the regular season, they were their number 2 team, but hey man, after that performance against New Braunfels, nearly coming up with a win, having a chance to win it late, they finish as the number 1 team here in the Rio Grande Valley. And Ivan, I'll send it to you for our number 2 team, who also had a hell of a second round performance at the 6A level.
And on the number 2, we have the Los Fresnos Falcons. I talked about it in the regular season. I had them as the dark horse to kind of come out of that district. Tough district. You got San Benito, Harlingen, Brownsville Vets, and they claimed the outright title. They had big wins against the Brownsville Vets, Harlingen, San Benito, all those. They went undefeated, and they unfortunately their season ended in the area round as well. But what a year! And like I mentioned, exciting because they get the running back next year. So number 2, we got the Los Fresnos Falcons. They finished the year 10-2 overall, 32 6A champions, a playoff win. And, like I said, another year coming back. And just to keep things going, Bryan, I mean, you take us to our number 3 team, a team that, they went undefeated in the regular season, if I'm not mistaken. Only a team to go undefeated in the regular season. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, the Edinburgh Valley SaberCats come in at number 3. They finished the year 11-1, and hey, man, I mean, they took care of business against Harlingen South. They kind of rolled through them in that first round, but then Smithson Valley, man, I mean, we just know how stacked they are. D1 players, just offense, defense, and that's just how good Smithson Valley is. We saw Brownsville Veterans go up against them last year in the state semifinals, and Smithson Valley competing this weekend for a chance to return back to those state semifinals this week. So, yeah, Smithson Valley, man, they're just a machine, man. So Edinburgh Valley, nothing to hang their heads on, man. Going up against a really good and strong Smithson Valley team, and Ivan, that takes us back to our next 3 teams, number 4, 5, and 6, all at the 6A level. And I mean, a couple of them had some good playoff performances, and another one battled adversity going up against another state-ranked power.
Yeah, so at number 4, we got the Brownsville Veterans Chargers. They finished the year 8-4, 32-6A runner-up there. And just a phenomenal year by Coach J.C. Ramirez. I feel like they were this close to pulling it off, and honestly, they would have put up a fight in that 3rd round too. So, what a great program that they've got going there. They've become one of the powers here in South Texas, in my opinion, and they don't seem to be going away anytime soon. They do lose some players this offseason, so it's going to be interesting who they fill in that quarterback spot. You lose Storm Montoya, 2-year starter at quarterback, 4-year letter winner. And, you lose some pieces on defense like Mickey Rodriguez, Eros Pineda. But, Coach J.C. Ramirez has those guys ready to go. I know he's excited for next year. And, so they come in at number 4. And at number 5, PSG High just ran into that buzzsaw that Cibolo Steel. I mean, they struck early against them. They did have a long touchdown pass, but they do lose Miles Lopez to an injury there in the first quarter. They lose their 2nd-string quarterback later in the game. So they're down to their 3rd string. And they played hard. They played their tough. They played their hearts out. They played tough, and Cibolo Steel was just too much at the end, especially after losing the Valley's top passer early on. Shout out to Ryan Vallejo, though, man. I mean, he still went over 100 yards in that game. Didn't matter who was at quarterback. He'd throw it up to Vallejo, who's going to be there. Finished over 1,000 yards for a 2nd straight season. I believe he's also the all-time receiving leader now at PSG High, is what I heard. Wow. So what a performance there by PSG High. They finished 9-3 overall, back-to-back 31-6A champions there, and just to keep things going here, the team that finished as the runner-up in 31-6A, the Weslaco High Panthers, come in at number 6. A team that, some teams expected to fall off. And, yeah, they didn't win a district title, but they played PSG High tough. It came down to the last play of the game, that game. They lost an interception that cost them the district title, but they still finished 8-4 overall. They get to that 2nd round. They put up a fight against East Central, almost punching the ticket to that 3rd round. And, just a phenomenal year. Coach Stroman seems to always have those guys ready to go. And, again, Weslaco High just seems like they're going up and up now. And, so Weslaco High comes in at number 6. And at number 7, Bryan, a team that we both have, got to see this year, and a team that made a little bit of history this year, getting back to that district title. I mean, just what can you tell us about number 7, Ed Couch-Elsa? Yeah,
Ed Couch-Elsa comes in at number 7. I mean, just 3 losses on the year. This team... man, I mean, they made it happen. First district title since the 2013 season, and they win it again there in 16 5A D2 with an unbeaten record. Close the regular season on a surge, and then pick up a playoff win over Mission Veterans to open up. And then they, of course, fall against Bernie in the area round. But the Yellow Jackets, man, Coach Gardenas, in his 3rd year at the helm of that program, leads them to a district title. And of course, I mean, that Thunder defense, man, that's what they're known for. They're one of the best defenses in all of South Texas this year, with some studs all across that on every level of that defense. And unfortunately, they'll lose some of those playmakers. But man, the Yellow Jackets, they tied for the most wins since 2016. As we said, first district title since 2013. So La Máquina, man, they made their case to be, one of those 5A D2 powers here in the Rio Grande Valley, and they definitely took care of business to make that happen. And then to keep things moving here at number 8, the Harlingen South Hawks, they come in at number 8, and they finished the year 6-5 overall. But hey, man, they earned a playoff spot in one of the toughest districts in South Texas there in 15 5A D1 that included 7 playoff teams from a year ago. Harlingen South punches their playoff ticket in the final week of the regular season. Then, of course, they run up against just a monster in Edinburgh Vela there in that bi-district round, which ends their season. But the Hawks, man, I mean, they had a strong season. They had some playmakers, Alvin Edwards, Dylan Anaya, both seniors who will be graduating. But, man, maybe one of the top 1-2 punches here in the Rio Grande Valley that we saw this season. So congratulations to the Hawks on another great season. And then that takes us to our number 9 team, the Mercedes Tigers, who and I mean, they pick up a playoff win against Sharyland High. I don't think many people would have predicted that they would have beat Sharyland High, having lost to them during the regular season by 16 points, and then they come out and take care of business, win by 3 scores against Sharyland in the playoffs. So Coach Adam and the Tigers get it done. Congratulations to them on another good season coming in here at number 9, and that takes us to round out the 5A, 6A top 10 teams, the Sharyland Pioneer Diamondbacks, who finish as runner-up there in 15 5A D2, then pick up a playoff win over Brownsville Lopez to start. And for Coach Eddie Galindo, man, they had a young team this year, inexperience all over the field, yet they still finished with 8 wins this season. So a good season for the Pioneer Diamondbacks, who round out the RGV Sports 5A, 6A top 10. And Ivan, I'll throw it to you, man, for the sub 5A top 4 rankings, and I don't think it's any surprise who leads off the sub 5A top 4.
It's a team we got familiar with this year, the Brownsville St. Joseph Bloodhounds, and in my opinion, they could very well be in our top 10 if we just did an overall top 10.
Absolutely.
The team is full of studs. I mean, Claudio Torres, in my opinion, is a D1 talent. Offers haven't flooded in yet, but I feel like they're going to come in for him. He can play receiver, running back, DB. I mean, over 60 tackles, over 2,000 yards of offense, almost 3,000 yards of offense, if I'm not mistaken. And they finished 10-2, district champs, 9-1 overall in the regular season. Their only loss came to Austin Regents, who was in the state semifinal game this last week. So huge season for them. And I mean, I think you look at their body of work. They played against 6A squads. They played against UIL squads. Had that big win against Vets, and just a good overall body of work of who they played. It wasn't like they were just going around playing small schools. They took on everyone and everyone, lined up their 20 guys on the sideline. Doesn't matter if you have 60 on the other side, they were going to take it to you. And they finished as the number 1 team in our sub 5A top 4. And at number 2, a team that, we didn't know what to expect after they lost their top player in Kian Lopez. That's the Rio Hondo Bobcats, and what a year. I mean, they finished 9-3 overall. They earn a share of that district title, and they earn a playoff win too. They go to that second round before falling in a shootout to Randolph 46-31, and just the resiliency of this squad. I mean, Ruben Atkinson leading that team there. He loses his top receiver. They lose their top defensive player in Kian Lopez. I mean, he played both ways, and they could have easily just rolled over. Instead they come back. They finish with a 9-3 overall record, and get a playoff win like we mentioned. And at number 3, a team that, Tony V there at Port Isabel leads those Tarpons to a 9-3 overall record. They run into Lago Vista in that second round and fall, but what another great season for Port Isabel there. And a lot of these guys are coming back. Luis Ramos, only a junior. He had over 1,000 rushing yards in 9 games, or in 12 games, or 11 actually, because one of their games was a forfeit. Another team forfeited against them, but they got the playmakers coming back, and they're a power there in that sub 5A level, and they should be back next year. And at number 4, Bryan, La Villa, what can you say about them? I mean, what is it, 4th straight district title, 5th? I don't even know at this point.
They're the only team in the Rio Grande Valley that can say that, man. 4 straight district titles. That's not easy to do at any level, and then especially after graduating some key pieces last year. But man, Coach Danny Perez keeps those guys going, man. They finish as district champions there in 16-2A D2, and advanced back to that area round for the 4th consecutive season. So congratulations to the Cardinals on another great season, rounding out our sub 5A top 4. Now to move into our Coastal Bend top 4. Ivan, two of these teams still alive. Number 1 and number 2, Corpus Christi Miller and Corpus Christi Flower Bluff. Corpus Christi Miller, of course, knocked off Sharyland Pioneer in that area round, and then in round 3, take care of business against Alamo Heights, which might have been a shocking result to some, man. And just they dominated them there in the first half, and that was enough to hold them off there in the second half. Flower Bluff also still alive this season. They pick up a second-round playoff win over San Antonio Piper in overtime with a 2-point conversion that sends them over the top. And then just last week, they pick up a win over San Antonio Southwest in a back-and-forth game there to come up there late in the fourth quarter with a big win. So Flower Bluff, they're still alive. Corpus Christi Miller, they're still alive in the regional finals playing this week. So good luck to them as they take the field this weekend for a shot at the state semifinals. And then our number 3 and number 4 teams, Corpus Christi Veterans and Corpus Christi Cal Allen, who Corpus Christi Veterans bounced out in the area round. Cal Allen suffers a third-round playoff loss. But man, I've been to have those Coastal Bend teams in the mix, just an interesting year, and of course 2 teams playing on. So just your thoughts on overall on the Coastal Bend and those teams keeping their seasons alive.
Yeah, man, I mean, they got some dogs out there, and the thing is, these Valley teams have got to go to head to head against these guys. I mean, Miller ran into one of our teams in the first round. Flower Bluff's obviously in that district with the PSJ North and all of them. Same with CC Vets. I mean, these are teams that we've become familiar with over the years, and congrats to them to keeping their season going, and just overall a great year by those Coastal Bend teams. And it's going to be exciting seeing them for the next couple of years. That's for sure. So, that wraps up our top 4 guys. Before we come back with a couple of final thoughts on the 2024 football season, we'd just like to take a second to hear from our sponsors who make covering RGV sports here possible.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mario Del Pino.
And I am Dr. Arturo Torices, and we are board-certified general surgeons who specialize in bariatric surgery. Today, we want to discuss the difference between weight loss shots and weight loss surgery.
Weight loss shots, such as GLP-1 medications, are intended for people who want to lose between 15 and 25 pounds. That's the average weight loss you have. They promote a feeling of fullness, they control your appetite. But not everybody responds to these medications. Maybe about 75 to 80% of people respond. Some people don't at all, or some people have side effects like nausea, bloating, or have a reaction, like an allergic reaction.
On the other hand, we have bariatric surgery. I mean, we've studied bariatric surgery, and we know that nowadays is the most effective and long-term management of weight loss. And bariatric surgery actually is also called metabolic surgery. Why? Because it's not just losing weight, but also we're improving and we're helping other medical problems related with being obese, like diabetes or sugar problems, having high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, etc. That's the reason why bariatric surgery is more effective.
But I tell my patients, if you want to lose some weight, yes, medications are a good option. But if you want to lose real weight, we're talking about 60, 75, 90, 100 pounds, then weight loss surgery is a better option for you. The other thing you have to take into consideration is that most people who are started on this weight loss medications stop the medications after a year, and long term, more costly.
Obesity is a chronic problem, and you need to take medications chronically. Once you stop, you're gonna regain the weight. On the other hand, when you undergo bariatric surgery, you're gonna have a long-term result and everything's gonna improve for a long time.
So if you are considering options for weight loss, I encourage you to do your homework, read about medication, surgery. Thank you for listening, and remember, we're here to support you on your journey to better health.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our sponsors. Really appreciate it. It's made everything possible from football season and on. Everything that we do is possible because of them, and we're just lucky to have them. And Bryan, I mean, the 2024 football season unfortunately has come to an end. It ended sooner than most expected. I think we've become so used to at least getting to that third round that seeing all of our teams go down to that second round was kind of shocking in my opinion. Just overall thoughts on this year, and I guess just the way everything played out.
Yeah, we over the last 5-6 years since we've had teams reach that third, fourth, fifth round of the state playoffs to keep our seasons alive and see the Valley rally behind them. But unfortunately this year that didn't happen. That's football, man. That's the way the ball bounces. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But what I can tell you is I know the Valley football teams, I know the coaches, I know the players. They're going to get back to work, and they're going to hit it this offseason, man. And one thing I can say is I've seen a lot of people. The unfortunate thing about Rio Grande Valley football is the biggest haters of Rio Grande Valley football also seem to come from the Rio Grande Valley. It's kind of it's baffling to me, you know what I mean? Because I don't know whether these people didn't play or whether they did play and then hold grudges against the teams that they used to play against or whatever it may be. But hey, man, what I can tell you is Ivan and I, these last several years, have seen Rio Grande Valley teams go toe-to-toe with Coastal Bend, Laredo, San Antonio, Austin area teams. I've seen Valley teams beat Pflugerville just this past weekend. We had 2 teams almost beat New Braunfels teams. I've seen teams beat teams from Georgetown in football. I've seen just teams beat San Antonio teams. We had San Benito just in the last few years. Edinburgh-Vella did it the last few years, excuse me. Edinburgh-Vella, Harlingen did it just a few years ago. So hey man, to say that Rio Grande Valley football teams can't compete with, you know what I mean, some of those teams from San Antonio, from the Austin area, that's just not true. You know what I mean? We've seen it. We know that our Valley teams can't compete. Was this year just wasn't our year. So what do we got to do? Go get back in the lab, grind harder than ever, and get back at this thing, man. It's football. Ain't nothing going to be given to you. Everything's going to be earned. And I know that there's some special players here in the Rio Grande Valley, some special programs, some special teams, special coaches that are going to work to make that happen. So yeah, this year wasn't the Rio Grande Valley's best year as far as the playoff football goes, Ivan. But hey, man, I have no doubt in my mind that RGV football will bounce back.
Yeah, you know, this whole stigma of Valley Week, you know, however you want to spell it, week, W-E-A-K or W-A, I don't think it exists anymore. These teams are going toe-to-toe with these big dogs. I mean, you had Los Fresnos take it to Buda Johnson. They're up there near that Austin area. Westlake High against that San Antonio East Central, you know, Brownsville Vets against Canyon, PSJ North against New Braunfels. I mean, these teams are, you know, they're growing. You know, I mean, yeah, obviously they're growing upstate too, but we've shown time and time again our teams can compete. They're going to take it to you. Doesn't matter how big you are, whether we're playing in a dome, outside, these guys are going to come out to play. And, you know, I love Valley football, man. What can I say? I mean, I grew up here in South Texas, saw Harlingen playing growing up, and, you know, saw them playing those third-round games when I was in high school and stuff like that. So just to see the continued growth is just amazing to see, man. And to be a part of it, even just as a journalist, it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's we really do enjoy it, man. And shining the light on this, it makes it fun for us because, man, we see the work that all these teams put in, from the district championship teams, the best teams in the Valley, to the teams that have struggled to win here in the Rio Grande Valley. And man, just like Progreso and Waters Lincoln and ending streaks, man, they have as much to be proud of as those teams that with kind of odds stacked against them, and they have just as much to be proud of as some of our best teams in the Valley who carry that torch for the Rio Grande Valley once we get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, that run ends in the area round, but hey, man, nothing to hang their heads on. We saw plenty of teams fight like hell, and if teams thought that Valley teams were going to be just a walk in the park in that second round, well, we have several Valley teams who prove that that's not the case. And I know going forward, we have several Valley teams that are going to prove that, hey, man, we can't get past that third, fourth, and just like Brownsville Veterans did, that fifth round. And maybe one day, man, we'll have somebody join the 1961 Donna Redskins in that rare air of that state championship winner. So yeah, man, it was a great season. We'll put a bow on it here at RGV Sports. We still have our all area awards for the Upper Valley and Lower Valley to come. Keep an eye out for those sometime here in late December, as we honor and recognize the best players and coaches here in the Rio Grande Valley with our all area superlative winners, and then of course our all area teams. So we're looking forward to putting that together for you guys as we move on here in December. And with that said, Ivan, we'll be moving on to basketball, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer coming up, and then before you know it, it's going to be baseball and softball season come late January. So
yes, sir. Yeah,
man. So this season was a blast, man. Ivan, just any final thoughts that you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, man. Shout out to those coaches like Coach Sean Tarantola at Lopez, leading that team back to the playoffs. You know, Economides getting back to the playoffs. It's just, you know, I just love to see this growth here in the Valley, and just the support of the community, you know, being out there at games. It's just a great season overall. Didn't end the way, you know, most teams wanted to, but hey, back to the lab, and we'll be back next year.
Yep, back and better than ever, man. So thank you guys for joining us this football season here at the RGV Sports Podcast. We've enjoyed breaking it down for you and bringing you all the latest and greatest here in RGV Sports News. And we'll be back with you guys throughout the off season to cover basketball and all the other sports as we get started here with the winter sports. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Soto, Reese Silver.